Hello everyone, here I am going to explain about reflex action and reflex arc. What are these terms referred to? Very simple and very easy concept. I have a needle here, let me just prick. See, what are you seeing? Here this needle is now coming to contact with the part of my finger, and within a fraction of a second after the contact, you could see my finger is moving away from this needle. Correct? Because a sensation is felt. What is that sensation? Pain. So here when the needle is coming to contact with the finger, I have a neuron here which belongs to a particular nerve fiber which is called as afferent nerve fiber, afferent nerve fiber, which actually the first neuron of afferent nerve fiber convert this stimuli into action potential or nerve impulse here, and then it is actually transmitted. The action potential is transmitted through set of afferent nerves called as nerve fibers, which reaches the CNS. It could be to the brain or it could be the spinal cord, it doesn't matter. Now the CNS produces regulatory impulses to this particular stimuli. Okay, so that is now produced inside the CNS, and now it is carried through another set of nerve fiber which is called as efferent nerve fiber, efferent. Okay, so ultimately it reaches the site where the stimulus has occurred, and now my finger, because I have muscles inside, and these efferent nerve fibers are attached to the muscles, and now it pulls the muscles away from this needle. That's what you see, my finger is moving away because it is danger, because it causes pain. So this is reflex action. So within a fraction of a second, everything is happening. See, within a fraction of a second. There are so many reflexes. For example, see, I close my eyes, or if anybody beat you like this, see, automatically your entire face moves away from it. Got it? Or when you see a tiger, your body shivers, shakes. See, these are all nothing but reflexes. Or you are driving a car, so, and you see a bike somewhere else, coming in front of the car, and suddenly your leg actually applies the brake to stop the car. See, these are all nothing but reflex action. What is this reflex arc? What is the meaning of arc? Arc is nothing but this. This is arc. Alright, so here the stimulus has occurred and it goes to any part of the CNS, and again it comes back through another set of neurons. See, arc. So this is reflex arc. It is nothing but the path followed by a nerve impulse in a reflex action. That's it. It is the path followed by a nerve impulse, correct? Nerve impulse in a reflex action. So what is this reflex action? So reflex action is very, very rapid and it is involuntary. Even though it is, my skeletal system is surrounded by the skeletal muscles, but still, even though we know that skeletal muscle movement is voluntary, but here within a fraction of a second it's happening, so it is involuntary, without my consciousness, correct? So I don't know what's happening, so within a fraction of a second everything is happening. So this is the jerk, correct? So in your NCERT textbook, one wonderful example is given, that is knee jerk movement. So very simple, when the leg, that is knee part, which actually touches a hot plate, obviously your entire leg moves away from it, correct? So that is nothing but knee jerk movement. Okay, there are so many examples for action reflex or reflexes. Okay, so here we are going to talk about the reflex action. So I told you that it is rapid and it is without unconsciousness. Okay, and even it is involuntary, it is not voluntary. Response or action which is produced through CNS, correct? So CNS is producing all these things. For what? For a stimulus, correct? So for a stimulus, the central nervous system, it could be brain or the spinal cord, which is now producing an action which is rapid, unconscious and involuntary. So that is called as reflex action, and reflex arc is nothing but it is the path. So it is the path. So from here it originates from one set of nerves, and this is the CNS. It reaches the CNS, and from CNS it reaches this site of stimulus. See, it is the path followed by a nerve impulse in a reflex action, which is called as reflex arc. Okay, now in your NCERT textbook they have given a wonderful diagram, so you have to be a bit familiar with the diagram, could be asked. Okay, so we just draw that very simple diagram. First, I'll draw a butterfly like structure. So I'm drawing a portion of spinal cord. You take a spinal cord, and spinal cord looks like this, right? So it's a tube, and I have taken a small portion of spinal cord. Got it? A small portion is taken and drawn here. So this portion is the inside of the spinal cord. That is the medulla region of the spinal cord. That is inside of the spinal cord. This is the medulla. And unlike brain, we all know that brain from outside looks grey and inside it is white. So grey matter outside, white matter inside. But in this case, it is exactly opposite. You see the grey matter inside. So this is grey matter now. I don't have grey color, but so yellow color, which is grey matter. And outside, what we have is the white matter. Okay, so this is the white matter. Okay, so this is how it looks like this. Okay, and these are the dorsal root of ganglion, and we'll draw like this. Okay, so this is the white matter. I will not shade this. This is white matter. Okay, white matter, WM, and this is the grey matter. Entirely different. It is opposite, like not like your brain. Okay. So now, what is there inside the white matter? So let me just write in the grey matter. In the grey matter, we have two sets of neurons. Okay. So this is one neuron, and let me just name it. What is this name? What is the name of the neuron? It is sensory neuron. That means it responds to a particular sense. Got it? Sensory neuron. And this one, we have one more neuron just below the sensory neuron within the grey matter, and this is motor neuron. Okay. So what is this motor neuron? Which produces regulatory impulse for a particular stimuli. That is movement of the body part. That is motor. Okay, motor neuron we have. But between these two, we have a set of neurons here. Set of neurons, and it is called as the interneuron. So let me just write, which connects sensory neuron to the motor neuron, and it is called as interneuron. That is between sensory and motor neuron. It has got one more name, that is connector neuron, which connects. Connector neuron. Yes, simple. Okay. So this is actually the inside of the grey matter of the spinal cord. So this is spinal cord. I forgot, spinal cord. And now let us just draw a simple diagram of a leg. Okay, so this is a thigh. Let me write T here. And what we have here, and we have muscles, correct? Thigh containing skeletal muscles, thigh muscles. Here we have, and this portion is nothing but the skeleton system. Okay, like a femur. Okay, we have a femur bone which is surrounded by thigh muscles. Okay, so with the help of the thigh muscle itself, like we just move our leg. That is help in our locomotion. Okay, movement of the entire legs, hind legs. Okay, so fine. Now let us assume that this portion of the thigh muscle is now pricked. Okay, so here a stimulus has occurred in this particular region. A stimulus has produced, okay, in this region. Now let us assume that it is the needle. You can also imagine a hot plate also, whatever it is. Okay, so this is the region where stimulus has produced. And now what we have here is, to this stimuli we have afferent nerve fibers, correct? So we have afferent nerve fibers. Okay, so this is now afferent nerve fiber which is connected to this particular sensory neuron in our grey matter of the spinal cord. Okay, so this one is called as afferent nerve fibers. Afferent nerve fibers. Okay, so where the stimulus is, which is produced here in the thigh muscle, which is picked up by the first neuron of the afferent nerve fiber, and now the nerve impulse which is now generated in the first neuron of afferent nerve fiber, which is carried. The direction of nerve impulse will be like this, because it is carrying the nerve impulse, transmitting the action potential to the gray matter of the spinal cord, and ultimately here this neuron now receives that nerve impulse. Done. And now with the help of the interneuron or connector neuron, this particular nerve impulse is transmitted to this particular neuron, which is actually called as motor neuron. Now the motor neuron produces regulatory impulse for that particular stimulus. Easy? You're getting my point? Okay. So from here, we have effector nerve fibers which is connected to the thigh muscles. Okay, so this is one nerve fiber and another nerve fiber which is also efferent, which is connected to the another thigh muscle. So we have two here. Okay, so now this one which produces the regulatory impulse, which is now carried by another set of efferent nerve fibers. Now these afferent or efferent nerve fibers are nothing but the nerve fibers which is associated with the transmission of impulses, particularly to the involuntary or voluntary organs, both actually. Okay, so fine. So ultimately it reaches the site where stimulus has occurred. Done. Okay, so here this muscle now receives that particular nerve impulse, regulated nerve impulse from the gray matter, that is from the motor neuron, and it now moves the entire skeletal system of the leg. Got it? At the same time, another effector nerve fiber which is attached to this muscle, which also helps to move the entire muscle, because here what we have here is motor end plate. So what is the motor end plate meaning? Motor end plate is nothing but the end of the neuron, effector neuron. So this motor end plate is now connected to the sarcolemma of the skeletal muscle. Sarcolemma means the plasma membrane of the skeletal muscle. That's it. Okay, so ultimately it produces some impulses within the muscle fiber and automatically the muscle now moves. This is it. Okay, so this entire leg portion now shows the reflex. That's it. So this is reflex action. Simple, easy. Okay, so I forgot to label this. This is actually called as dorsal root of ganglion. What is this dorsal root of ganglion? It is seen in the spinal cord, where a small tube-like structure which originates from the white matter of the spinal cord, which is now goes or passes through the vertebral column. Okay, it's not vertebral column. In the vertebrae we have tiny spikes. Okay, so through that this particular nerve originates. So that is called as dorsal root of ganglion. It is the root for the neurons or nerve fibers. That's it. Okay, so this is all about reflex action and reflex arc. You know what is reflex arc? So see the arc. This is the path which is followed by a nerve impulse in a reflex action. Got it? Reflex action, it is the movement of a skeletal muscle or the body part which is rapid and unconscious, as well as involuntary action which is produced by the CNS for a particular impulse. So that is reflex action. So hope you understood reflex action and reflex arc. Thank you.